When you look at the average American, there's typically 3 huge loans that people go into debt for. Number 1 for the house, number 2 for the car, and number 3 for student loans. Now, would you believe that our Toyota Camry that we bought in 2018 with sticker price was about $25,000, would you believe it actually cost us $47,000 to own it for the first 3 years?
That's like double.
That's almost double. Now, you've heard that buying a car is probably the worst investment you could ever make.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I've heard.
There's a lot of hidden costs associated with it. You want to go through the numbers?
Let's go through the numbers.
Now, we finance our car, and that's the worst way to buy a car. So right off the top, sales tax, DMV fees.
What is DMV?
That's the government fees to drive a car.
Oh.
Okay. And they base it on a percentage.
The government takes everything.
They base it on a percentage of the actual value of the car.
Okay.
And the interest from the loan. Those 3 right off the bat, $6,000.
Wow.
So sales tax, DMV fees, and interest of the loan is $6,000. So we're not even talking about the car at all. But the financing associated with the car and the sales tax, which is for the government, and the DMV fees for the government is $6,000. Now, have you ever heard of depreciation?
Yes.
Okay. Depreciation is when something loses its value over time. Now, when you buy a car today for $25,000, are you aware that it's not going to be worth $25,000 in the future?
Yeah.
In fact, when you drive it off the lot, you lose 10% right off the bat.
Wow.
Okay. And then typically...
That's crazy.
And the average car loses 60% of its value after 6 years.
Wow.
Okay.
It's like a phone. Sidetrack. I went to try to sell my phone so that I can get a new one.
Oh, yeah.
They offered me a very less price. I was like, forget it. I'm keeping my iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'm not selling my phone because they offered me like nothing. Yeah.
So we owned our car for 3 years before we sold it to go to Botswana. Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of 3 years, we had lost 40% of the value.
Wow.
So 40% of $25,000 is like about $10,500 or $10,000. So 40% of the value of the price of our car is $10,000. That's a cost.
Yeah.
If you buy stock in a company today and it loses 40% of its value 3 years later, that's a cost.
Yeah.
You lost money out on that. Okay. Now, another thing is car insurance. Now, car insurance is required for all vehicles.
It's mandatory. Yeah. Where I'm from, it's not at all.
No. $4,200 over 3 years.
Wow.
Okay. Now, maintenance. Now, Toyota Camry is a very low maintenance car.
Yeah.
And we actually got 2 full years of free oil changes, which helped. But we had the car for 3 years, so I had to pay for maintenance costs on the 3rd year, and that's about $700. Okay. So $4,000 plus $2,000 plus $10,500, $4,200 and $700. That's about $21,000.
Wow.
So $21,000 to own that car for 3 years. Now, there's one other huge cost that a lot of people don't factor out, and you might be aware of this from studying economics. Do you remember the term opportunity cost?
Oh, yes, okay. I remember that.
Can you give us a definition?
No, I would rather have you explain it.
Opportunity cost is what you give up or what you sacrifice by choosing one way as opposed to the other. Okay? So we paid, by choosing to buy a car and to maintain it and so forth, we lose that amount of money to do something else with the money. Okay. So the opportunity cost, if we would have never bought that car, if we would have lived a really frugal life, trusted on public transportation.
Yeah, because that's the this public transport.
Yeah, especially in Phoenix. If we would have invested that money in the stock market in 2017, 18, 19, 20, do you know what the opportunity cost would have been? We would have made about $27,000.
Wow.
By choosing. In fact, if we would have delayed that gratification for 3 years, we could have bought our own Toyota Camry.
For cash.
For cash. Wow. You factor in the $20,000 or $21,000 that we put into the car, and we factor in the opportunity cost of $26,000, $27,000.
Wow.
That's about $47,000.
And what is funny is that you can survive without a car, which is the thing about the Western world.
Yes.
Where I'm from, most people don't have a car. My mom and I does not have a car. My aunties, a lot of my aunties don't have a car. Having a car is not pushed. You know that people in our lives here in America really wanted us to buy a car. Here in America, especially when we have children, people believe that you need a car. Personally, for me, I don't think we do, because back then we had Uber. Like, someone may say, what about the times of emergency? You can call Uber. Yeah. If it's that emergency, then you need 911. Like, you don't need the car. And that's such an eye-opening thing. I mean, my husband has never shown me this math. We don't have a car today.
Yeah. And you know, we lived across the street from an urgent care clinic.
Yeah, exactly.
We lived a mile from the hospital.
Yep.
We lived on a main route for the public transportation.
Wow.
And we lived on 2 main routes. So you give up a little bit of freedom and a little bit of pleasure, but if you could push it 3 years, we could have been able to buy that entire car for cash now.
Dang! I didn't know that, especially with the opportunity cost. I didn't see that. We would have invested a lot of things. We would have paid our credit card faster.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because we owe the credit card. We have a video of actually explaining how we paid off our credit card. In that video, we showed how we paid the credit card. Had we not had this, we would not have that much credit card debt.
Yeah.
That's such an eye-opening thing, you know?
Well, you and I watched that Dave Ramsey episode last night, and a person called in. He was buried in debt, he and his wife. They had 2 cars, and the first thing out of Dave's mouth, one of the first things is, you need to sell her car.
He's very straightforward.
Yeah, you need to get by with 1 car. Now, we got by with 1 car, but we didn't even need that car.
Yeah, we didn't need it.
Yeah. Now, I used to sell cars for a living, and the average car payment in the United States is $561 per month. Actually, $568 per month, and the average term of their loan is 71 months. That's 6 years. So they're paying $568. The average American pays $568 a month for their loan for 71 months. Now, if they were to pour that into the stock market instead of going that route,
I never thought of this way.
they would have had over $50,000 at the end of 6 years. And if they would have done that for 20 years, that's almost $300,000. See, the problem with a lot of Americans is they're accustomed to having that car payment. So when they have a car for a few years, what do? They trade it in and get another car. So it's like a perpetual motion where they're just pouring out $500 or $600 a month, and that's not including insurance. And they're just killing their investment. Great opportunities for investment.
You know, one thing that I want to add is that I've learned a lot about the American living. One of the things that I see a lot here is that is more about money in general. And not only that, the companies are so greedy, whether it be the bank, whether it be the car company, and they don't tell you these things. And not only that, Americans have been programmed that you need a car. You need your own house. And what do? They get a loan to finance the car. They get a loan to finance the mortgage, the house. And then you see the amount of money. And by the way, after we learn that stuff, for the house especially, we're going to save to buy the house for cash. And let's tell them we don't have debt. We have been blessed to pay all our debts. We don't owe anyone anything. And we have a lot of pressure sometimes even from family members saying, you need to buy a house. And when they say a house, they don't mean a house that is cheap. They mean a house that you're going to be paying a lot. Not only for the tax, for the tax, but also for the mortgage. In my head, I'm like, that is not worth it. And I'm learning a lot through my husband, and especially with this video.
Now, when you look at this, is a little off topic, but when you look at the average American, there's typically 3 huge loans that people go into debt for. Number 1 for the house, number 2 for the car, and number 3 for student loans. At least the house doesn't depreciate.
Yeah, that's
it typically
good thing.
goes up in value.
Yeah.
And at least you can make the argument, I don't believe in borrowing a whole bunch of money to go to college, but at least you can say that's investment for your future, because hopefully you'll have a better paying job in the future. So at least there isn't a whole lot of depreciation there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that car, it just goes down the tubes in your value. So a great lesson that we learned, then hopefully you'll bear in mind, is if you can forego buying a car, especially going into debt for it, if you can forego that, you can bring in a lot of extra money for yourself, for your future, for your retirement, and so forth. And in fact, if you can delay that gratification, you might be able to buy that car outright in a few years.
Don't get me started on how now more than ever, I believe that college is very much overrated. I believe that if there's things that we need to teach your children, is business, is stuff that is going to be important to them, and reading, and then from there they'll figure out what they need and everything. If I could change the time, I'll not have to go on to college. Look at that, how many years have I wasted?
Well, that's quite a rant, and I think that'd be great for another video on student loans. In conclusion, our $25,000 car that we bought actually cost us about $47,000 for 3 years.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping that this is opening a lot of people's eyes out there. And some people think that Dave Ramsey is too much, but I feel like if we were to listen to him on the debt and the power of debt and the power of bondage it puts you in, it will definitely make you see things differently, and you will not want to get in debt. I'm really liking some of the stuff that he says, and some of the stuff that he says is free on his YouTube channel. So Dave Ramsey really knows what he's talking about, and a lot of things that he teaches is actually very biblical, because God even does not want us to be in debt. Like, debt is not the best thing you want to get into. It is actually putting you under bondage, and for me it was giving me a bad mental health, and even my husband.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully we'll have more videos for you in the future. And it sounds like we're gonna have a video on college financing as well, education as well. Anyway, take care.
Very overrated.
And God bless.
Bye bye.